John, the former director of ICE during the Obama administration. So let me go through this in order, I suppose, John. I want to definitely get to SB4, going to get to Joe Khalil, some of his new reporting, and then maybe some big picture stuff at the end. But first, to Ali's reporting on this soldier, Texas National Guard, who is now been arrested and trying to smuggle somebody in. What do you make of that?
Well, Connell, look, corruption is a persistent threat at the border. I mean, you have a lot of officers down there with a lot of individualized discretion, a lot of authority, and frankly, are relatively low paid. Cartels and other human trafficking groups seek to exploit them all the time. Certainly, it's something at DHS that the department is very vigilant about, takes a lot of precautions. The Inspector General's office and the internal affairs, basically at CBP, are besieged with these kind of investigations. So, very unfortunate, but, candidly, not uncommon in the border environment.
Not shocking to you, someone who has experience down there, see the video of getting dragged out of the car. Let's pop up what SB4 does again for anyone who hasn't been paying attention. We've talked so much about it. I think people know, you're talking about the local authorities being authorized to arrest migrants suspected of crossing illegally. So it goes to federal court. As Joe Khalil was reporting a moment ago, maybe ends up in the Supreme Court. How do you see all of this playing out, this battle back and forth between the state of Texas and the feds?
Look, first of all, I think a lot of this, just to be very quick about it, I think it's somewhat political theater. From an operational perspective, the state and local authorities have a critical role to play. Cases like the one we just saw, arresting a National Guardsman who's smuggling an alien into the United States. That is the kind of key role that the federal government needs to supplement their authority, that, additional boots on the ground. And that's where the state and locals can be a real, asset boost to the federal government. This, I worry, though, is going to transition those agents to focus more on the economic migrants, diverting some of those key resources away from the more higher, threat level cases like the smugglers, like the drug traffickers. That said, look, this thing is almost certainly headed to the Supreme Court. If the courts follow existing precedent, the Arizona law that Joe was referencing, this law will almost certainly be struck down. But we have a different court today. There's been some indications the court might be more willing to let this law go into effect, so it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out.
It will be, yes, is where it'll probably end up being shaken out, though, to your point. So you mentioned the term political theater. I wonder if you think there's some political theater going on as well with what Joe was reporting with this letter that's being sent to Mayorkas, who's a Secretary of Homeland Security, from a number of House Republicans. They want answers on some of these terror suspects who are allowed into the United States. I would assume Mayorkas does, too. Does this go anywhere?
I'll tell you what, when I listened to the letter and the back and forth, it sounds like something went wrong here, right? There is no greater responsibility, and there's nothing that DHS is more vigilant about than counterterrorism operations, right? And candidly, Connell, I want everyone to understand that those operations begin far away from the border, where the U.S. intelligence apparatus is focused on terror groups, has infiltrated their electronics, right? Has flipped in sources and informants, as well as to the FBI counterterrorism teams that are working in the United States, try to identify and monitor the activities of suspected groups. So before anyone ever gets there, if the Border Patrol just happens to stumble in on someone, there's been some failings in the system before that. But look, absolutely, it's always concerning if you hear people who were, known or suspected terrorists who, for some reason, were apprehended by DHS at the border, but we missed, right? Typically, that's going to be done through biometrics. No one's going to, oftentimes if you're someone like, a terror suspect, you're not necessarily going to give your true name, and hopefully we have a biometric match. But I suspect that this kind of thing where, while there's some political posturing going on, that the department will take seriously and will look very hard to see what happened and hopefully get it fixed.
All right, let me ask you the last part, the big picture part about what's being done here. So first of all, if you just look at the polls, and we have a Pew poll we can put up about how Americans view the border situation, 45% now say it's a crisis. Okay, so, both parties, for the most part, there are a lot of people who think this is a crisis situation or a major problem, if you add up the 45 and the 32, right? There's been a lot of criticism from Democrats of Republicans, especially former President Trump, saying, he's just been playing politics with all this, hasn't been doing enough for the border bill we've talked about. But what about on the other side, about what President Biden could have done by now? We'll put up a Politico headline that speaks to this, but I thought we were going to see something in terms of executive action, right? That there's been a lot of talk, but a lot of time's gone by now, and we still, as this says, he's gone silent. Should he have taken some action himself to try to make up for that border bill not passing?
Yeah, I'll tell you, Connell, that's the million-dollar question, right? I think that's what we're going to see play out as the election goes forward. Obviously, the administration right now is emphasizing heavily that Trump, essentially killed the border bill.
Right.
Right. There's no question. And
so then why not do something about it, or yourself,
Yeah, I mean, look, they floated a few weeks ago that they're contemplating it, and then kind of walked that back, right? That the president might announce some executive orders. So it's unclear to me the political strategy here. For the moment, it does seem to be relying on blaming, former President Trump for killing the border bill. But if these numbers pick up and this again becomes kind of a persistent monthly story about these record numbers at the border,
right,
he might find himself in political pressure to act and do something dramatic. Look, the bottom line is it's unclear what exactly the administration can do. This is a resource-driven crisis. We've talked about it extensively. The border bill would have obviated the need for a lot of these resources, but at the end of the day, there are simply nowhere near enough resources to handle the sheer volume of asylum claims we're facing at the border.
Thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.